Hello, and welcome to the first of hopefully many in a series where I just talk about stuff that I find interesting. So today I listened to a podcast that my dad sent me about Taoism, and it was really interesting to me because it talked about the concept of emptiness and how it's necessary to live a fulfilling life. And at first I was like, emptiness, fulfilling, this is doesn't make sense. Inside of the podcast, he talked about a lot of different stories. I'm not going to try and explain them because I feel like I'm just going to really jumble it up. So I'm going to link it down below and you can go and listen to it yourself, and then maybe come back after then and kind of see what resonated with you and what didn't resonate, because that's just what I'm going to talk about right now. So the main thing, one of the big takeaways that I took from that, in the very beginning, he starts to talk and then he goes, humans have limits. I think that's the one thing within the podcast that didn't really resonate with me, because I feel like to think of yourself as something that has a limit is limiting in itself. So like if I go about my day and I'm trying to do something, I'm like, oh, I can't do this, I have limits. Like I feel like some people will just use that as an excuse. So I feel like it's more of like you need to recognize that there are certain things which you simply cannot do because you are a human. Like I can't fly. I don't have wings, but I can fly an airplane. So it's like I have limits, but I have to respect them. He talks a little bit about how he compares it to machines. Like machines have limits. Once they are worked to a certain extent and not given the proper time to rest, a machine will break, and that is the limit of a machine. And I do believe humans have limits internally, but to think about that constantly and every day, I don't think that's what he means when he's saying humans have limits. I think it's more like having respect for yourself and knowing what you can and cannot do for your body and your mind, your emotional well-being, that sort of thing. So for me, my limit, I went to school and I got 2 degrees, and that was a really huge push. And I feel like I almost got to that limit where I'm like, what am I doing? I don't know if I can do this. But I pushed past, and so it didn't end up being a limit. And I feel like a lot of humans and a lot of people won't ever get near what their limit actually is. I feel like our human limit is actually so much more than we think that we're capable of. I think our limit will almost never be reached if we're doing everything that we can in the right ways. So if I'm taking on 20 different hobbies and 3 different jobs, my limit is going to be reached, because that's too much for a person to take on and really fully immerse themselves and reach their full potential in each of those aspects. But if I take one thing and I work on it my whole life, it's I'll be trying to reach that limit, and maybe I won't reach that limit, maybe I will, but the limit I just feel is so much higher. So when you just listen to the podcast and he's humans have limits, I feel that in itself is limiting. So I thought that was a really interesting concept. And then later on he kind of talks about being saturated and things actual physical items in life, and how your home and your thoughts themselves can become saturated by the things we do. So when he says a person maybe has, this is my cat, by the way. She just wants attention. Say hi, Paris. He talks about in a day, and I feel I'm very, very guilty, culpable in this. And forgive me, I'm not the most eloquent speaker, but I'm trying to explain this because I'm really passionate about it right now. But in a day, when you fill up the entire day, a lot of people will be all right, I had a really full day. But the way that he says it, he's they really actually had a very saturated day. They didn't have moments of emptiness or silence where they could appreciate the day for just being what it is. So he's talking about this emptiness that we have to have in our lives to be fulfilled, in a way that when we have this emptiness, we also have this ability to accept whatever is occurring in our lives. So it's like when you sit in silence, you know, like thoughts come up in your head that maybe you haven't thought about in a while, and you're able to like fully work through those and understand it, and with that you live a fuller life. I don't know if any of this is making sense, but this is what I was thinking afterwards. So now, after listening to this podcast, which again, you should definitely go listen to it because he explains everything in such a better way than I do. I think I want to just start like taking time to have that silence and emptiness, because I feel like I'm very guilty of just oversaturating my days with like audiobooks in the background, music in the background, constantly moving, trying to get as much as I can done in every single day, for like a fear of missing out or fear of not doing enough. Because I feel like there are so many things that we can do in this world, and a lot of it, like, you need money to do, and it's like, so I'm working so hard to do this stuff, but like I'm not taking the time to appreciate like the abilities that I have in order to do those things, like the brain power that it takes to like sit and study for 4 hours. Like, I don't appreciate that every day, and I feel like I should. So it's like when I go on my walks, like I was listening to that podcast on my walk, but from now on I feel like I should just go for a walk and just like exist, just allow this emptiness to be, and allow this space for which the things that are important can show themselves to me, can exist. There was one story that I will talk about, where there was this sculptor, and someone asked him, he said, how did you create this amazing piece of art? Like, how did you do this? And the sculptor says, I didn't do anything. I didn't sculpt this. All I did was remove the pieces that were hiding this piece of art. So basically, like, he removed the excess, and from there, the art appeared. So like, to relate that back to your life, it's like you remove all the excess stuff, the items that you don't really need, the extra like events, the hobbies, the random things that don't really resonate like in your life, that won't help you be the best self that you can be. And from there you can use that emptiness, that silence, to like really flourish. I don't know, but those are just some of my thoughts. Take that with what you will. Take what resonates with you. I hope that whoever's watching this got something from it. I know I rambled a lot. Definitely go listen to it down below. Listen, it's so good. Thank you for being here. Thank you for existing, and have a wonderful, wonderful life.